Do you ever get that feeling you're being watched? That prickly sensation on the back of your neck when you're all alone in a room? Most of us just shake it off, blame it on an overactive imagination. But what if you were right? What if something was watching? This is the story of 10-year-old Leo, and the night his ordinary world was ripped open by a single, tiny hole. Leo lived in a house that was old, but not the charming kind of old you see in magazines. It was just old. The floors creaked, the pipes groaned, and a faint, musty smell clung to everything, no matter how much his mom cleaned. His bedroom was his sanctuary, a small universe filled with posters of spaceships, shelves of fantasy books, and a galaxy of glow-in-the-dark stars stuck to his ceiling. It was his safe space, until one Tuesday afternoon. He was on the floor, building a ridiculously complex spaceship out of plastic bricks, when his favorite red piece skidded under his bed. With a sigh, he got on his hands and knees to retrieve it. The dust bunnies under there were legendary, but as his eyes adjusted to the gloom, he saw something else, something new. Right in the middle of the wall, down near the baseboard, was a hole. It wasn't big, maybe the size of a coin. It was perfectly round, with edges so clean it looked like someone had drilled it with surgical precision. This was weird. His mom was a fanatic about the state of the house. She would have noticed a hole. He hadn't made it. He poked a finger into it, expecting to feel the rough texture of the other side of the drywall, maybe the insulation. But his finger meant nothing. It was just empty, an abyss of perfect blackness. He pressed his eye to the opening, but it was like looking into a bottle of ink. No light, no texture, just a profound, unsettling void. Curiosity quickly turned to a slight unease. He shrugged it off, grabbed his brick, and tried to forget about it. But the image of that perfect, black circle was hard to shake. That night, dinner was the usual chaotic affair. His dad talked about work, his mom asked about school, and Leo mostly just pushed his peas around his plate, his mind replaying the discovery of the hole. He didn't mention it to his parents. How would he even explain it? Hey, a mysterious, perfectly drilled hole just appeared in my wall. They'd probably just blame him for it, or worse, they'd patch it up. And for some strange reason, he didn't want it patched. He needed to know what it was. Later, tucked into bed, the familiar comfort of his room felt different. The friendly shadows cast by his toys seemed to stretch and twist into menacing shapes. The gentle glow of his nightlight seemed weaker, pushed back by an unseen darkness. Every creak of the old house made him jump. He kept glancing towards the wall, where he knew the hole was hiding in the shadows near the floor. He tried to read, losing himself in a world of dragons and wizards, but his eyes kept darting back to that spot. It was like a magnet, pulling at his attention. He eventually turned off his lamp, plunging the room into near total darkness, save for the faint moonlight filtering through his curtains and the plastic stars on his ceiling. He rolled onto his side, facing the wall, and he waited. He didn't know what he was waiting for, but a primal instinct told him to stay awake, to watch. Hours seemed to crawl by. The house settled into a deep silence, the kind that makes your own breathing sound like a storm. Leo's eyelids grew heavy. He was just about to drift off, to surrender to sleep, when he saw it. A flicker, a tiny, almost imperceptible shift in the darkness near the floor. He held his breath, his heart suddenly hammering against his ribs. From the inky blackness of the hole, a light began to emerge. Not a bright light, but a soft, biological glow. And then, it focused. It wasn't a light, it was an eye. A single, unblinking eye, staring out from the hole. It was wide and round, with an iris that seemed to shift in color, swirling with shades of gray and a deep, cold blue. There was an intelligence in that gaze, an ancient and unnerving curiosity. It wasn't human, it wasn't animal, it was something other. Leo was frozen. A scream was trapped in his throat, a solid lump of pure terror. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't tear his gaze away from the single, luminous eye that was staring directly at him. It didn't blink, it just watched. It saw him, it knew he was awake. He could feel its gaze like a physical touch, cold and analytical. It was examining him, studying him like a bug under a microscope. The rest of the room, the world, his own body, it all just melted away. There was only him, and the eye in the wall. He had no idea how long he lay there, locked in this terrifying staring contest. It could have been minutes or hours. His mind was screaming at him to run, to yell for his parents, to do something, but his body wouldn't obey. He was a statue, carved from fear. The eye seemed to drink in his terror, its swirling iris pulsing faintly with every frantic beat of his heart. There was no malice in its gaze, no anger, just a calm, detached, and utterly alien observation. And that was somehow the most terrifying part. It wasn't angry at him. It just was. Then, as slowly and silently as it had appeared, the eye began to recede. The soft light pulled back into the void, the swirling colors shrinking until they were just a pinprick, and then nothing. The hole was once again a circle of perfect, impenetrable black. The spell was broken. Leo gasped for air, a ragged, shuddering breath that felt like his first. He scrambled backwards in his bed, pressing himself against the headboard, pulling his knees to his chest. He didn't take his eyes off the spot. He sat there, trembling, until the first gray light of dawn began to creep into his room. chasing the shadows away. Only when the sun was fully up, painting his room in the warm, familiar colors of morning, did he dare to move. He slid cautiously out of bed, his legs shaking. He approached the wall like it was a caged animal. He had to see. He had to know it was real, that he hadn't just had the world's most vivid nightmare. He knelt down, his heart pounding. He reached out a trembling hand to touch the edge of the hole, but his fingers met a smooth, painted surface. He blinked. He ran his hand over the wall again. It was seamless, perfect. There was no hole, no mark, no sign that anything had ever been there. The paint was smooth, the same faded yellow as the rest of the wall. There wasn't even a speck of dust out of place. It was gone. The hole, the void, the eye, it was all gone. He spent the next hour frantically searching. He knocked on the wall, listening for a hollow sound. He ran his hands over every inch of the baseboard. He even tried to peel back the paint with his fingernail, earning him a scolding from his mom when she came in to wake him. To her, he was just a boy acting strangely, defacing the wall. To him, the world had fundamentally broken. He never told anyone what he saw who would believe him. He would have sounded crazy. The boy who saw an eye in a disappearing hole, but he knew what he saw. The memory was burned into his mind, the perfect black circle, the swirling alien iris, the cold, intelligent gaze. From that day on, Leo was never quite the same. He couldn't sleep without a bright light on, one that banished every single shadow from his room. He never again left his bed facing the wall. He would sometimes just stand in his room and stare at that spot, running his hand over the smooth, uninterrupted surface, half expecting his fingers to plunge into that cold emptiness once more. The hole never came back. But Leo knew with a certainty that chilled him to his core that the eye was still there, on the other side of the wall. In that place that wasn't a place. It was just waiting, watching, and he knew, with a terrifying sense of finality, that one day it might decide to look again. He still wonders what's on the other side of the wall. But some questions are better left unanswered. Thanks for sticking with me through that chilling tale. Sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain. If you enjoy stories that get under your skin, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a strange, unexplainable experience in your own home. Until next time, stay curious and maybe keep a nightlight on.